Good morning and welcome to this week's Paper Tray Ink Make It Monday video. I'm Lizzie Jones and I'm so excited to be your host this week. I received several requests for a felt flower tutorial after sharing my spring wreath during the countdown last month, so I thought this was the perfect opportunity to share a few techniques. These are the dies that we're going to use to create our flowers today. We have both flower mandala sets, the leaf silhouettes die, and the happiness in bloom leaves dies. This flower is sort of a poofy, almost carnation looking flower. You're going to start by folding them in half and then folding them in half again. So you're quartering the pieces. I'll show you again here another one. You're going to need at least 6 flowers to fold and 1 flower to stay flat. The softer or looser your felt is, the more flowers you're probably going to need, and also the larger your flower is. The same idea applies. So you're going to do that with all of these flowers, and then we'll assemble them all on top of one of the flat ones. So here you've got all of the flower pieces sort of folded up and ready to go. And I'm just going to add hot glue. I'm using hot glue for all of the flowers. I'm going to add hot glue to the point of each of the 4 that will lay flat. And then I'll show you the way the final 2 will stack in there in a second. I'm going to fluff them up a little bit to see how many more you need. I only need 2 for a flower this size, so I'm going to glue those together first. Make sure that they're nice and stuck, and then add some glue to the inside of the flower there, the center, and then sort of smoosh those 2 connected flowers down into that glue. Now this flower uses the larger of the 2 sort of petal-shaped dies in the second flower mandala sets. You're going to add just a little bit of glue to the bottom edge of the petal and then squeeze the 2 bottom sides together, and it creates like a pucker, and you get that nice sort of dimensional petal shape. And you're going to do that with all 6 of these petals, and then you're going to glue them to the flat 6 petaled flower in between the petals there in a rosette pattern. And you're just going to sort of space them as evenly as you can, but you don't really have to worry about it being perfect. Right around the circle there. And it's okay if they don't meet all the way in the middle. You actually want there to be a little bit of a dip for these next couple of steps that you'll see. So once you get the final one in there, I'm going to add glue to this little, I think it's 8-petaled scallop there, and I'm going to push down so that it's got a little bit of a divot, and then add a little bit of glue to that center dot. And here I've got a skewer, a wooden skewer, that I'm using to push everything down and make it a little bit concave. It just makes it a little more special. So now this is the Easter grass die. I'm using it to create a fringed central sort of stamen, I guess, for a flower. And you're just going to use hot glue all the way along that sort of rib, that central line. You're going to roll up to create kind of a tassel. Now I've got 2 here because you could stop at 1, which is what this one is here, but I like it to look a little more full for this flower that we're going to do, so I cut about 2/3 of a second one, and I just keep rolling. It gives a little bit more dimension and volume to that center tassel when it's all said and done. So there it is. And we're going to take one of these flowers, the same flower that we used for the first flower, and you're going to really glue up the bottom of that tassel really well. And then you're going to use little dots of glue at the base of each petal. Sorry, I get a little off camera here, I apologize. But you're going to use just a little bit of glue at the base of each petal to sort of cup around that tassel, around that fringe. So it's almost like a daffodil or something like that. And you're going to do the same basic principle on each of the other flowers in the same sort of nesting set. Again, just a dot of glue at the base of each petal, and you want to sort of rotate the flowers in each on each layer so that the petal is coming straight up where two petals meet on the layer before. I hope that makes sense. So it's just staggered, so it's not it's got a little bit of fullness that way, a little bit of volume that way. And again, you're just going to cup around, creating sort of, I don't know, a depth, I suppose. And you can sort of fluff and fuss between each layer, just while the glue is still just warm enough to move things around if you want to. And again, you're just going to put a dot of glue at the base of each flower and sort of use your fingers and your thumbs to sort of cup around and hold until it dries. The reason I sped this up so much is because hot glue does take a minute or two to sort of set, and this video would have been 45 minutes or so if I had not sped this up. So there you can see you can just fluff it up and it looks nice. So this is a petaled flower similar to the berry sorbet one that I've done. This is melon berry, but this is a different shaped petal. So it almost looks like bow tie pasta once you've got the edges glued together. So again, you just glue the very bottom tips and hold it until the glue sets. And this is the center for this flower. It's the little four-petaled flower, I think in the number 2 set. Yeah. You're going to essentially quarter this one too. So you want to use little tiny dots of glue because you don't want to burn yourself too much. And if you have a cool glue gun, even better. But you're going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. And it just creates sort of a nice little flower center. And this little scallop shape is also from the flower mandalas too. And you're going to, again, just create a rosette. You're going to go in a circle. I find it easiest to do 2 straight across from each other first because that sort of helps guide the spacing. We're going to use, again, hot glue just on the very bottom sort of center, just to make sure, just enough to really secure it to that bottom flower. And then just another little dot of glue here on the very bottom to secure that little center. Now this is the last flower I'm going to show you. I got a lot of questions about this flower. This one doesn't actually use any dyes though, but since I had so many questions, I figured I would show it here. So you just take a long strip of felt. This one was 1 1/4 by about 11, and you're going to glue the 2 sides together so it's long and skinny, and then you take a pair of snips and just cut fringe all the way down. It does take a little bit of time, but it's such a cool flower once it's all said and done. So you're just going to roll it like you did the fringed center for the white flower. I'm going to roll it all the way up. And then once it's done. It looks a little funny until you fluff it out. So you gotta hold the end to make sure it doesn't loosen up too much. But then you just fluff and round it a little bit. So these are the Leaf Silhouettes leaves, and they have little nubbins where the second layer would add on there. So I'm just trimming those off. I'm also trimming off the stems because you don't really need the stems in this application. And it's again just it's like the smaller petals. You're going to add just a little bit of glue down at the base on one side and then squeeze the two edges together. And I'm just using my scissors to trim off a little bit of that glue excess just because it's bulky. And this is the Happiness in Bloom Leaves die flower. I like having few different sizes to work with when I'm doing like an arrangement with the flowers. So I've got 3 different sizes to use here. And I also did some in Spring Moss. That was the Simply Chartreuse. So this wooden frame I just picked up from a big box store, a local big box craft store. I think it was Michael's. It's just a magnet board. And so I'm going to arrange my flowers and my leaves and glue everything down with hot glue again. I like the hot glue because it sets really well, really quickly. I would not suggest fabric glue or anything like that. Even super glue probably would not set well enough and quickly enough with felt. So here I like with the leaves to take 2 different sized leaves and glue them just at the very base because it gives them a nice sort of flare out. And then I just tuck them in and tuck everything around underneath. Now this is a big leaf. I cut off the back end of it and then sort of flattened it down a little bit. It's going to go under that that Sweet Blush Mum looking flower. And since that's totally flat on the back, I needed to flatten out the leaves a little bit to make it easier to lay flat. So I just I put a little glue on the inside and flattened it down. So I adhered those with the glue, and then I'm going to put the glue on the leaves there instead of on the frame itself, because that way I'm going to get better contact. Now since this is a magnet board, I also had a couple of magnets. These do have a sticky back, but I decided to also use hot glue just to make sure the flowers wouldn't come off of the magnet. After a little bit of use, they hold up better. So there you have it, our magnet board embellished with felt flowers. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Make It Monday video. Now it's your turn. Try your hand at creating felt flowers and embellish something of your own. Then head over to Nicole Hetty's blog to link up your project for a chance to win a gift certificate. This has been Lizzie Jones for Paper Tray Ink. Thanks again and have a great week.